Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Inside the Cell. I'm here in Apple Valley at the Westcoast office, and I'm telling you guys, if you guys want to get around an environment, see some folks, learn some things, like I would come here. You'd be like, what's in Victorville? This office in Paul McLean, okay? Other than that, I don't really know. There was snow on the ground when we drove up here. I was like, dude, I left the beach, and within an hour and a half, I was in snow. It didn't make any sense at all. But I got my good friend, Jack Yu here. How you doing, Jack?
Hey, Don. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing excellent. I've known Jack now, God, it's been 5 years?
More than that.
5, 6, well, we've been here for, this is year 7, so,
yeah.
God, 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
Man. Dude, I'm excited to be doing this with you because what I've, and to specifically be talking about this inside the cell, because I like to get into the nuts and bolts and the action of what we do. I think, I know at the event, there was a lot of belief transferred, a lot of inspiration, a lot of motivation by non-motivational speakers. And I think that's when you get the most motivation is when you're hearing it from somebody who doesn't do it for a living. We heard a lot of people who don't do it for a living. But now it's like, can we get some practical steps to take that belief and start seeing some results? So I want to take the next 10, 15 minutes, dude, and really get into like what you're seeing, why an agent today, starting with Family First Life, why it is the best environment, from training to leads to support. And really I go back to leads because, dude, 10 years ago when we started, we couldn't just hop in the CRM and get leads. You'd be like, you're in Los Angeles with, I don't know how many millions of people are there. We'd go in the CRM and there'd be 2 leads. You'd be like, how are there 2 leads with 6 million people? We just didn't have the infrastructure. We didn't have what we had today. I know Jack, I'll tell you a little bit about what you did, but because I pay attention. But Jack lived in LA. He was driving up to the Bay Area. Why was he going to the Bay Area? That's where the leads were. You're like, how far was that? From LA to Alameda, without traffic, call it 6. With traffic, you're like 9. But he did it every week. Did it every single week. So I don't want to go up the hill through the snow, but just know when we're talking about leads, it all comes from perspective. It comes from, and if you don't know, and this is where you first started, you must just think, I'll go in the CRM. There's tons of leads. I'm like, do you know what that means? Do you know what that means for your business, how fast you can get moving, how much you really don't have to know to get a result? Like back in the day, it was like if I bought leads, I'd be like, man, I ain't gonna get no more leads for a minute. Like I have to make this happen. And it wasn't really about, some situations. Yeah, there were some financial, I gotta pay this, but it was like, if I don't make this happen, I won't be able to afford leads next week. And in paper app days, it was like you buy leads, write the paper app, take 7-10 days for it to get approved. Like your momentum's already, you're lost. But today, dude, you can go in the CRM on a Saturday, Sunday night, buy yourself 100 instant internet life leads, call them on Monday, be in somebody's house Tuesday and Wednesday, and be getting deposits Thursday and Friday. That was unheard of before. So I tell you all this not to go, well, man, that's too bad for y'all. No, I'm just saying, hey, you got to really look at what you have, and it should bring you confidence that if it is my last $1,000, if I'm in a spot right now, man, I just don't know. You should have the confidence to know that you can drop the money on the leads and you can be in somebody's house within 48 to 72 hours with deposits. So Jack's 3-time Hall of Fame?
Yes.
3-time Hall of Fame. That's helping over 350 plus families a year, every year. Okay, so that's massive. 3 years in a row. Okay, you ain't letting up, dude. And through that, you worked a lot of different types of leads. I remember a podcast of yours, you actually came off of some leads. That wasn't easy. Does that make sense? But what you saw the growth for others. Does that make sense? And I think that kind of brought you into these other lead types.
Yeah.
Because if it was just all about Jack selling insurance and doing, there's no reason to. Like, I'll just keep the leads forever and don't matter. But if I want to grow my business, I got to go, hey, you guys take those, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to figure out these. And what you've done for your agency, dude, by being a leader in the lead front, in the field, dude, it's changed the scope not only of your agency, but I think what a lot of other managers and how they're approaching how to build their business through leads. So I appreciate you, dude. And if you could give us some, give us some heat, dude, on some leads, and why FFL is the prime place for an agent to start today, and why.
Oh, thanks, Dom. Yeah, it's so exciting to see the company evolve so quickly. And yeah, you're right. Back in the day when we first started, man, it was hard to put it together because we came from an environment where leads were very sparse into a place where there were a lot less. There was even less leads. So to see it grow to the point where Sean and the organization has really put everything in to building lead platforms, so the accessibility is everywhere. And coming out of convention, we saw so many people, pour into us about how, they're able to get traction. And I like to break it down and say, hey, the resources is one of the three key components of your success here. And that's something that's different for most of us, because a lot of us come from different industries, different backgrounds, and we're not used to that business model of treating it like a business. So I think it's very important for us to all jump into this opportunity and take advantage of everything it has to offer, particularly the numerous lead types and the availability. So you talk about the internet leads, it's fantastic. It's something we didn't have before. And before that, we were using direct mail, final expense. They're all good, but the beauty of the internet lead is that they're easily accessible and they're way less expensive. For an eighth of the price of another type of lead, you can grab one of these, and that is the thing that really catapulted my business, is the ability to get in front of more people. That was my challenge from the beginning. So I probably shared with you before that it was really hard for me to get traction because I came from a place where they gave you leads, and you know what you get for free, right? It was really hard and few and far in between. So when I started with Family First Life, the ability to control my own business, take control of my destiny, was something that I was very eager for, and you didn't have to tell me twice. If I could spend money on leads, I would do that, and with the comp structure here, you go out, you spend your, weekly amount, you want to make sure you get a healthy dose of leads so you can get in front of more people. And that's what the internet leads are doing. They're giving you the ability to book 30 appointments a week, talk to more families, and protect more families. With that many appointments, you can't go wrong. Right? Yeah. So it didn't, just because the lead is less expensive, I think a lot, your natural inclination is say, well, I just need this many. Right? I just need this many. But in fact, you should, especially when we're newer, we want to take advantage of the opportunity to get more and more leads. So for me, it was like that was something I could see immediately. Let's reel up instead of reel back. I have agents that I talk to, and one of their, they're actually getting success. They're actually profiting from their weekly expenditures, but they still don't have 30 appointments a week. And, with the nature of business, not every single appointment is there at the appointed time. So that's what we call a no-show. So if you have these gaps in your schedule, you don't have 30 appointments a week, I mean, you could literally double down and get double the effectiveness, if not more. Right. So that's the thing. I'm having this conversation with a lot of people that are actually successful. They spent XYZ on leads and were able to double their money, triple their money, but they're at that point where it's like, okay, what are the moving parts? Well, one of them is leads. You double down on leads, you double down on your number of appointments, you double down your activity. And it's kind of like a restaurant, right? If you go to a restaurant and there aren't any clients, there's nobody eating there, the staff get real downhearted. Like, what's wrong with this place? They start throwing food at each other and eating the profits. So we need to stay motivated. We need to stay engaged. So once you're on a positive cycle with plenty of leads to talk to and plenty of appointments, it motivates you in a positive upward spiral. And the advantages you take away, they start getting exponential. It's synergy, right? 1 + 1 should be more than 2, should be 3, because now you have the appointments, you're getting the experience you need, or you figure out how to do this e-app, and it's approved on the spot, and then you take that confidence, and then you move on to, you take that money, and then you quickly reinvest it in your business. So that's really the power of the leads for me.
And the consistency and getting leads, you kind of hit on. You said you just don't pull back. Like, you got to do it all the time. What was some of your apprehension or thoughts going into changing your lead type? Was there ever a time where like maybe you fought it a little bit, and what did you find out? You know what I mean? Like, how did that help you?
Oh,
overall?
totally. I mean,
Because the reason I say that is not really specific to your situation, but I know a lot of us have these preconceived thoughts about, well, I'm just doing this, it's working, why would I change? Right. Or if I change, it's gonna, you know what I mean, it's gonna hurt something. You're not gonna get the same result, if not better. Okay, so what were some of those thoughts, and how did you debunk them once you started rolling?
Well, perfect. I think I'm a very good example of that. Because if anything, I came with all kinds of skepticism. Mm-hmm. Having spent a few years in the insurance industry at another company, when I came to Family First Life, unfortunately, like many of us, I came with a lot of baggage.
Yes, sir.
And I had lack of confidence, and I had lack of trust in the system. So getting liftoff from a sales perspective, presentation, my ability to understand and listen to clients were all challenges that I faced from the beginning. But the one thing that helped me overcome it was just understanding that, 2 + 2 is 4. Let's get more leads. Let's get in front of more people. In fact, even though I had doubt in the system and doubt in myself, I knew that in a sense I could pay for my education, by investing a certain amount in leads every week. And that's the key, is making sure you stay consistent every week. Like you said, you want to have plenty of leads to talk to so you can book your 30 appointments. Now, changing lead types was not easy for me because, I had gotten accustomed to a certain type.
Like you already hit Hall of Fame.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like doing it in a way. Let's talk why you did it and kind of go into what's the, because I think a lot of us like internet, like, oh man, I don't know about that one, man. That's like $7, $8. Like, and I heard somebody tell me this. They go, that's why y'all give all those discounts, because they're not good leads. I go, wow. No. Like, I never but they're not abnormal. That thought isn't abnormal. Just because I don't think it's so beyond me. I'm like, oh my God, like I know Sean, I know the business. I'm just like, there's no way. Or like, we wouldn't. There's no kickback for that. You know what I mean? But if you don't know, like you said, coming in, well, sure. Like, why do they got those, and why are they $7, and why are they giving discounts all? They must not be good. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And so, what were some of your thoughts when you were transitioning over? Like, what was the downside that you thought you were going to see?
Well, I mean, that's natural. When to have doubt when you're trying a new lead type. Mm-hmm. You're like, hey, are they effective enough? Is the quality there? But I knew well enough through experience, hanging out with people like you and Paul McLean, understanding that a lead is just a lead. And I learned that early on because when I first came with all my doubt and skepticism, I'd come to like a dial team and bring my leads, and I'd be up in a hot mess saying, hey, what's wrong with these leads? What'd you sell me here? Right. And then Paul would be like, oh yeah, okay, let me get them.
Same lead, take it.
Call them up. I call them up and book it.
Yep.
And I constantly listen to your podcast because I need to get as much information as possible. And a lot of the word tracks that you use, just your ability to improve your skill set day by day, right, to build more posture, right? Because it doesn't matter what kind of lead you're calling, In fact, even though it's important, even though they fill out a form or they fill out a request online, it's not like you're not going to book 9 out of 10 leads, regardless, So changing the lead type was a challenge at first, but I was always a believer that a lead is a lead is a lead. So I took that same skill set, that same mentality, and said, okay, well, let's just double down. Let's just make sure that we get them. Because if you do the number, right, if you get 100 of these leads, right, and you literally sell one at the nationwide policy standard in California, it's $83 a month per policy, right? Mm-hmm. And in California, it's probably higher than that, right? Whether in Northern Cal, Southern Cal, just because of the cost of living. Mm-hmm. You sell one policy, you already broke even. How hard could that be?
And out of 100 shots. Well, and the only way it doesn't go in is if you don't shoot.
Exactly.
You just don't shoot enough.
True.
I mean, you're not putting enough shots at goal. Hey, I just thought about this as we were talking, and I love the diversity of Family First Life. I love the willingness to go out there and serve wherever, whenever. And I think that some folks get into this, and I get asked questions, or have somebody, or they may be of darker skin tone, or they may have an accent, or they may grow up not what they think financial service, like, so they think that like they can't do it, right? Like, no, I just don't know if that's for me, right? I was talking to somebody the other day, they go, well, my accent's really, really strong. And all I can think is if it's no big deal to you, it's no big deal to them. You know what I mean? Like my business acumen was the size of a like that iguana out there in Paul's office. Like I had none. You know what I mean? But Sean let me know, he goes, dude, be you. As long as you're authentic and you care about people, it doesn't matter what your business acumen is. It doesn't matter that you just played baseball in college and you're in North Carolina and there's like you ain't sitting down with many people who look like you. Does that make sense? Like, let's just be honest. Let's just be real with this, because we're talking about selling, dude. We're talking about allowing for people to trust us to protect their family. And a lot of this is on the front. There's a lot of this we can take at face value and go, well, that probably isn't for me, or it's going to be an uphill battle. So what do you say to that, Jack? All right, I've known you 10 years. Obviously, you have an accent, okay? Your client, like, was that ever a thing when you got into sales? Were you ever concerned about properly communicating, or folks maybe looking at you a certain way? Okay, and how did you overcome that, and how can you help somebody else who's may have some of those thoughts? I know I had them when I started.
I think people are very intuitive. You know, if you have doubt or lack of confidence, it's easy to spread that feeling across the table. Right. And there have been times when I thought, well, maybe I have a disadvantage to somebody else.
Correct.
In my ability to get the point across the table to protect this family. And I realized that it was just my personal fear and my lack of activity that was creating this problem. So one thing Andrew Taylor shared with us very early on was, hey, it's very important as you go through the motions to stay even keel. You know, because at the same time, there'd be times when I'd sell a policy and I'd be so excited, I'd go spend all my money and be shouting from a mountaintop. Right. And then if I had a bad day or a bad week, suddenly I start thinking, is it because I'm Chinese? You know? Yeah. No, but it's not that.
Right.
And I realized to myself after the fact that no, it has nothing to do with that. It had to do with my ability to communicate. You know, and some of our best producers and our best agencies, they have the same obstacles that we have.
Yes.
You know, but they overcome. And I think that's the beauty of this industry, is that if you put your head down and work, any of these obstacles can be overcome. I have many agents on my team that are not American-born or not native to this country, but they work so much harder than I had to get the job done. You know, we have agents that come from overseas and they realize up front that their accent is going to be an obstacle on the phone. What do? They go door knock. You know, they make it their business to resolve leads. You know, and at the same time, if you conduct you're a good listener, and you had a heart of service, and the client understands, hey, you know, you're putting my needs first, and you have conviction, then I think it overcomes all barriers. You know,
this is really good. All right, and I think this is something with the company being the size that we are and as diverse as we are. Like, these are things that people think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember when I went up to Connecticut, Sean, yeah, you're already laughing. I went up to Connecticut, and what's really cool about Sean is that he doesn't put things in people's minds that doesn't matter, okay? It could matter. So I was in North Carolina, all right, pretty diverse group that I was selling to depending on where I was. Does that make sense? And then I moved up to Connecticut. He didn't tell me that there wasn't a black person for like every 10 counties. Does that make sense? Like, I'm being facetious, but geez, y'all been in Connecticut? Like, he didn't tell me that. If he would have told me that, Jack, I would have stayed in North Carolina. Because in my mind, I would have already said, I lost. But I moved up there, settled in, got a lease, went to go ran my first month. I was used to helping 30 families a month. I helped 12. And 30 after 12 means you're broke, okay? But I learned a lot. And I said, Sean, and I didn't say it initially, right? I was getting my butt kicked, and I was like, hey, dude, like, hey, there's like no black people are like up here, like at all. Not saying I can't sell to white people, okay? I just know that like if it's predominantly white, then I had to change a little bit. Does that make sense? I had to be more aware. I was like, dude, why didn't you tell me that? He goes, dude, you would never came. He said, but you figured it out now, right? And I was like, yes, I did. And then started helping 40, 50 families a month because I had to learn how to change, how to connect and communicate with everybody, not just the down south, come in, sweet tea, you're skinny, I want to feed you type of folks. Because that's who's in North Carolina, South Carolina. They all want to feed you if you're skinny, okay? And they'll invite you in for some sweet tea. Connecticut, they ain't like that. All right, they ain't offering you water. You ask for water, they go like, they look at you kind of crazy. So I had to learn. It was different. True. You know what I mean? It was a different thing. So I think a lot of this, we're going out letting you guys know that, hey, it's no problem. It's all these obstacles that Jack and they're all in here.
Yes.
They're all in here. But no, don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything. Don't let anybody tell you that this ain't for you or you can't do this or whatever you have that they may look at as an inadequacy. Don't listen to that. You go out there and prove it for yourself. You go out there and show people show you. Forget people. They'll be watching anyways. They're watching to see you fail, but you go out there and prove to yourself that you can do it, and they'll hate to see you win, but you'll be winning. So, Jack, man, I appreciate you, dude. This has been fun. Inside the Cell, we are out. Peace.